Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here with us today. I want to give a warm welcome and thank you to the press and journalists present here today, and also the ones who are online. Thank you to CIS, the Cooperation International pour le Développement et Solidarité, our friend Dorian, and European Jews for Palestine, two organizations that have collaborated in the past weeks to help make the April 9th this event possible. After tomorrow. And a special thank you to Basel Adra, a Palestinian activist, director and protagonist of the powerful documentary No Other Land, for coming to Brussels and the European Parliament to raise the voice in this institution. And it is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to give a brief introduction on the film. We are holding this press conference on the occasion of the upcoming screening on the documentary No Other Land, which will take place next Wednesday after tomorrow in the European Parliament, with the presence not only of Basel Adra but also of Yuval Abraham, co-directors of No Other Land, and two young filmmakers who began documenting the Israeli occupation years ago and what is happening specifically in their area or the village Masaferiata. You completed this project in 2023. The same year, Israel recorded the highest numbers of killing civilians that year in the West Bank. So that puts also yourself in a very dangerous situation in order to film this movie. We want to thank the European Parliament for letting us screen this movie here. It's a powerful message to the world, so thank you for that. And the same danger is continuing being happening in the West Bank, not only in Gaza, but in the West Bank. Tonight, Israeli forces bombed a tent sheltering journalists near Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. So we have to denounce the death of and killing of journalists, humanitarian workers. 208 journalists and media workers have been killed in the West Bank, Israel and Lebanon since the beginning of this war. I also want to remember the 50,695 people killed in Gaza during the war in Gaza, and 1,350 since the end of the ceasefire. I also want to condemn and remember, condemn the brutal attack of Hamas 7th of October and the families of the hostages that are suffering. We condemn this death, and we need to ask for the hostages to be returned back safely home. And something that we always say, but it's important to remember, the extremist government of Netanyahu does not represent the Israeli population, because there are a lot of democratic Israeli population that are suffering, that are protesting in the streets, that they want their families to get back home, and they are supporting Palestinians. They are suffering now this law of 80% taxes to NGOs that are being financed by other NGOs outside, and they will not be able to report all the injustices that are being happening now in Gaza and in the West Bank. Also, I want to say that also Hamas doesn't represent all the Palestinians. And you have been seeing that there are a lot of Palestinians in big demonstrations these days against also the actions of Hamas. On the event of this film, I want to say that this is an honor for us to be here, to have Basel, to have this movie here. We think that everybody should see this movie to be aware of the reality and the suffering that Palestinians are enduring during this hard occupation that is coming also, not only now that it's being very hard, the annexation, and the demolition of houses, that this is to continue 24 hours. But since the occupation, of course, of the land since 1967, we strongly condemn the intimidation that people of Palestine and specifically of Masaferiata are enduring. You will be able to see this in the movie. This film has, also received criticism. And yesterday it was forbidden in Haifa, something that we need to denounce here, because we think the Palestinians have the right to show what are being through, and they have the right to call, for self-determination of their country. We do believe in the two-state solutions, and we are calling day by day on the resume on the ceasefire and to end this cruel war. I personally contacted other MAPs from other political groups, EPP, the Greens, the Left, Renew. We think that this doesn't have to be ideological, but it's a question of human rights. So let's going to remove politics from here, and let's going to do the right thing, to be with human beings and with people that are suffering. For me, it's very important, and for us, that all of us can gather to receive this movie, to have the opportunity to talk with the directors of the movie. Palestine is not a question of ideology, but of human responsibility, human rights specifically. We call for international law to be applied and international humanitarian law. On the EU and Palestine, I don't want to dwell too much on this. I want Basel to talk about the situation now, but for us, we need to denounce double standards. We need to support Palestinians, and we need to have on board other conservative forces. We ask here EPP to be with us also, the biggest group in the chamber, in order to call and for the application of the two-state solution. We need to condemn the settlements, the illegal settlements. We need to take actions and not have any kind of commerce or trade with the illegal settlers that are, as I said, are illegal and, that are occupying land that are not theirs. We need to denounce the situation, and we need to work in order to work on sanctions against illegal settlers and settlements. There is a violent action on the Article 2 related to human rights of the association agreement between the EU and Israel, and we need to take that into account too. In recent meetings with representatives of the Israeli organization Breaking the Silence, made up of former Israeli soldiers, they confirm as the difficult situation and the damage that it's being applied, to the Palestinian territory. So I want to say here that it's important to have people denouncing from within, and we need to support them too. The position of my S&D group specifically, it's related to the two-state solutions. We are calling again on the 67 borders. We need to support the ceasefire and reconstruction plan in line with the Arab League proposal from last March. We fully support UNRWA and, of course, the International Criminal Court and, the arrest warrants against Netanyahu. For us, 3 messages are being basic, or 4 even, ceasefire to be resumed, ending the killing of civilians that are suffering and are not to blame. We call our High Representative Kaja Kallas, that have the authority under Article 29 of the EU to propose specific sanctions to the Council and that to take place. And we call the Europeans, member states and political parties to think about what is going on, this big injustice in Palestine, to work all together to support Palestinians, to support also Israelis and Palestinians to live in peace and security. Israel needs security, and that will only come if Palestine have also their security, their land, and all can be happily and live together. We call for peace. This is a call for peace. This is what we do really need. And we need, in order to apply this, we need ceasefire now. Thank you very much. I will give the floor to Basel, which is starting as today. He will begin saying some words and the speech he would like to give, and then we will pass through the questions of the journalists. Thank you very much. The floor is yours, Basel. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Hana, for organizing this and for organizing the screening on Wednesday. I hope it will go well, and a lot of people will attend to watch the documentary. Together with other 3 friends and colleagues, we started working in No Other Land about 5 years ago, and it's a movie that documenting the daily life under the brutal Israeli occupation of my community, of my people in my community, Masafer Yatta, where we have 20 small villages located in the southern occupied West Bank and part of what's so-called Area C, which is 60% of the West Bank. The movie addressed the home demolitions and schools demolitions, water cutting pipes and destructions that my community suffers from Israeli occupation forces, as well the expansion of the settlements and the settlers like violence that me and my people in my village facing on daily basis in Masafer Yatta. The movie was finished in 2023. We addressed a bit how the life changed after October 7th. And unfortunately, the situation getting worse and worse until today. So for people who watched No Other Land, if you want to ask what's the situation today on the ground, it's just simply like double of what you are seeing in No Other Land. It's went beyond what people would watch in this documentary. Just from January 1st of 2025, we had over than 100 settlers attacks on the 20 village that we live in, over than 20 home demolitions that we had in the area. And the movie, as you know, won the Oscar earlier in March. On March 2024, we were at home. After Oscars, we went back to our reality, to our life, to our communities. And 24 of March at 6 p.m. was iftar time. A group of masked settlers with Israeli police invaded the small village of my friend in Masafir Yatla and co-director of No Other Land, Hamdan Ballal. Settlers start to vandalize houses of the community and the vehicles of the residents. They stabbing water tanks, throwing stones at windows, at doors, at properties in the community. And then Israeli army joined the attack, and another group of masked settlers and armed settlers came into the community. One of the settlers and two soldiers chased and went after my friend and co-director of No Other Land, Hamdan Ballal, to his home. He was locking the door of his house on his wife and the 3 kids to prevent any settlers from entering to attack them. The 2 soldiers and settlers started to beat him up with their guns, with their hands. He was shouting, needing help, shouting for an ambulance. The soldiers shot fire-life ammunition in order to prevent any Palestinians to reach and to rescue him. And then they abducted him after 15 minutes of attacking him and assaulting him. We only saw the blood on the floor in front of his door. The army abducted him to one of the military bases, refused to give any details about his situation, if he got medical treatment or not. For 20 hours, that he spent in a military base, blindfolded and handcuffed. Soldiers were humiliating him, assaulting him, making fun about him and about the Oscar. And only after that he was brought to Israeli police station in the settlement in Hebron. They basically accuse him of attacking a settler that invaded his community, forcing him to pay a bill, and only after that he was able to pay to go to a Palestinian hospital to be treated. This is not an isolated incident, as I said before. Settlers' violence and attacks that they are committing against communities in Masafir Yatta, but all over across the West Bank, and mainly focusing in the villages in Area C. It's part of the policy, is state policy that driving us Palestinians out of our homes in order to take our land and to expand their illegal settlements and outposts for the goal, which is to prevent the future of Palestinian state. This policy is not hidden, is there. All Israeli politicians almost is saying it. All decision makers are saying it, from the Israeli cabinet, from the oppositions as well in the government today, the army on the ground, the police, the settlers. And we keep hearing the voices who saying from Europe and different places that they are against the annexation. But facts are changing on the ground. Annexation is happening. It's not time of condemnations. It's not time of words. Crimes are happening every day by settlers and Israeli soldiers and police, and they need to be stopped. And they need to be stopped by applicable of the international law. There should not be any exhibition of any violating of international law, and should be applicable on everyone. There are in 28th of March as well happened a major attack on Masafir Yatta in the morning, where you have 20 settlers masked, invading one of the village and start attacking people, attack the man and his 2 sons inside their home. They were critically injured and they need to be rescued to the hospital. The army prevented the ambulance for an hour and a half, and man and his son were bleeding, with another 5 light injured people, residents. They were rescued to the hospital after 1 hour and a half. Then the army abducted all men in the village, 26 people, for the night, and then they release most of them, leaving 7 in the military base and police station. and in the night invade the village, 100 masks like settlers and soldiers in uniforms, and they start smashing properties of residents, wasting food. They enter to the school that funded by the EU, smashing windows and furniture, throwing it outside. Those all attacks happening in a policy which is, as I said, to stole our land and to kick us out of our homes. And in this sense, we need actions, we need support, and this must be stopped.
Who can talk after this? Thank you, Basel. Thank you very much. We are going to pass to the round of questions. So each journalist that would like to pose a question, please just raise your hand, say where are you coming from, which is the media you are working for, and then you can proceed to the question. Yes, please.
Hi, thank you. Camille Gesson from Agence Europe. You say we have to stop what Israel is doing in the West Bank. Can you explain which kind of actions the EU can do to help you? Thanks.
They need to protect at least the properties, the projects, the humanitarian projects that they are funding to the Palestinians, like the school that was destroyed, all the schools that are under threat of demolitions by the Israeli authorities, all the houses that they built for the Palestinians, water projects, all these projects should be protected by the EU, because in the end of the day, these projects that they believe and they supporting it. And the other thing is really to put sanctions on settlers and settlements and Israeli ministers, extremists, they are also settlers, and who's exposing their fascism and their crimes, and they are not hiding anything, and also to stop the trading with the settlements. We know that goods and products that are planted on our stolen land is sold here in the markets in Europe, and there is European companies that investing in the settlements and in the West Bank illegally against your own laws.
Next one, yes.
Alfonso Bianchi, Europa Today Italian Media. I have a question on, you made a documentary with Israeli and Palestinian people together, working together. The perception from the outside is that, at least in the Israeli society, or in Palestinian society too, I don't know, that's the question, there is not a real space for the idea of a peace between Palestinians, less and less. We see, you made a documentary together, Israeli and Palestinian, it's not even screened on Israeli theater. And there are some movements working like with Palestinians and Israeli, like standing together, women, wages, peace, and other movements. Some of them have been candidates to the Sakharov Prize. But this seems to be, at the moment, from the outside, I don't know, a small minority of the Israeli society. Do you think there is still space in the Israeli and the Palestinian society for a discourse of peace, for something like is working together toward peace, or this is now impossible? Because we see also topics discussed on Israeli television openly, like from people from the mainstream politician parties and government too, like talking openly about ethnic cleansing, stuff like that, like it's normal, a debate. So the perception from the outside is there is no more space for that, it's just space for war. Is this a perception too tough, or do you think it's true? Thank you. Shukran.
Thank you. Well, you described like the Israelis that interested like to against the occupation and solution. They're very, very, very small minority. We want to talk about Yuval and people like him, activists that comes to Musafir Yatta that's opposing publicly the occupation and the apartheid system that exists. They are, yes, very minority. So there will never be any solution within, not never, but for now, like, and for the next, I don't know, 10 years at least. There is no way that this problem will be solved within, because, I mean, Israel, as I described, they got money, they got weapons, they enjoying relationships, even in the settlements, like European buying their goods, even from the settlements, from extremist settlers, the U.S. delivering weapons and money. They can travel all over they want, even when they commit crimes, or even when the settlers come and burn a village, can come here without a visa and travel all over Europe, enjoying the relationship and going back. It's not like, this is not a game, it's not a match. There is a laws rules and there is like principles that should be respected. There is a regime that on daily basis violating international law, as you said, on their own TV channels. They are discussing about ethnic cleansing, about the crimes that they are committing, nothing hidden. So this needs to be solved through the international law with critical decisions. It will not be solved that the Israelis they're getting everything they want in order to continue the ethnic cleansing, the genocide in Gaza, all the crimes that they are doing today. Nobody, like diplomats covers, Prime Minister Netanyahu has like arrest warrants and he was able to come to Hungary, and maybe other European countries will host him and like don't give a shit about the international law. Sorry for this word. The US the same thing. So why he will solve it? Why he will do a solution with the Palestinians? This is not a war. This is occupation. This is aggression, and need to be stopped only by international community, by critical decisions.
Hi, good afternoon. Laura Zornoza from the Spanish news agency, EFE. I was wondering if in the last 2 weeks after the attack on your colleague, there have been other attacks by settlers on any one of your team, of the team of the documentary. And if, second question is, as movie makers, as artists, you felt supported by the international community of movie makers, especially after it took the Hollywood Academy a bit longer than expected to reply. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there was not attack on us specifically, like as Oscar winners. Hamdan, for example, my colleague and friend on this documentary, his community received 45 attacks and people were injured in their heads and more critical than his injury, but they don't have Oscar. So the settlers' violence didn't get this media attention just because he won the Oscar. Palestinians, I hate the idea that Palestinians need something extra to bring attention to them. Like Shireen Abu Akleh, because she's American, she's Palestinian but holding American passport, everybody talked about her. Today, I saw an activist and journalist from Gaza wrote something very sad on social media, that today counting the alive journalists, it's easier than to count the killed journalists in Gaza. There is everyday violations. In Masaf Riyata specifically, yes, there was many attacks after the attack on Hamdan, and people was fighting for their life. They were spending nights in the ICU at the hospital and were really about to lose their life from settlers' attacks, and it happens every day.
The second question on whether you feel supported by the international community of movie makers, artists.
Yes, there was a support to Hamdan, major support, and we thank for the people who are supporting it. The American Academy at the beginning refused to put out a supporting letter, but after pressure and artists around the world and celebrities who's condemning that, they also sent public statement to support Hamdan. So yes, there was this support, and we are thankful to it. But we want the actual attacks, to stop on us.
Is there any other journalist present that would like to ask any question, or we can? Yeah, okay.
Hello, Francesco Bortoletto, EU News Italian Press. Just a kind of a follow-up on my colleague's question here. We were talking about the fact that whether a perspective for some, let's say, I don't want to say pacific, but political recomposition of the situation in the Middle East is ever going to take place. And you said that this sentiment on the Israeli side is a minoritarian one. And you also mentioned demonstration against Hamas in Palestine. So would you say that, what is the situation on the Palestinian side? I know it's a tough question, and I know that, of course, what's been happening in the past year and a half is probably breeding resentment amongst the population. So what's your take on that? Thank you.
Yeah, asking about Palestinian situations is a tough question. Palestinians are, today we're very weak. time. I think it's the darkest days in the Palestinian cause ever, that today this is how we're living on our land. And we are really feeling very powerless, and we are calling on the world to take action. We are not calling in Europe and the US from vacuum or just to blame people here, but because we know the occupation have this power and to continue, because these are the most allies and the closest country to Israel. And if ever something would change, would come from here and from the US together to stop this. These crimes and these actions, so we can have better future, and so we can have solutions. We don't have any power. Even like if you would watch the documentary, if we do like a peaceful protest, it will be oppressed, and the aggression against us as Palestinians. Palestinian civil society is designated as a terrorist organizations. Anything we do to try to change our reality and our future is faced with aggression and force. So, yeah.
Anyone here else? Or yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I think it was last year or 2 years ago, the Oscar went to the 20 days in Mariupol. This year is for you. Do you think there is a difference? And can you explain why there is a so big difference between the way people are looking at Ukraine and people are looking at Palestine situations? Thank you.
You're asking about the people or the politics?
The politics mostly.
Well, for us, we see double standard for sure as Palestinians when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, that there is like the principles and the international law respected very well, and everything said like clearly out there. Nobody hides, and you can boycott Russia and you can put sanctions and us like until they would do ceasefire or a solution. The pressure is there, but when it comes to Israel, there is always excuses for the European and the European politicians to say about violating international. Why, when Israel violating international law, they're not acting and they're not publicly like asking for actions to stop these crimes. And it's sad to see this double standard.
And the ICC warrant to Putin was very well received and applauded. It didn't happen with Netanyahu. I would like to remind this here. So let's going to go to the online questions, and the person that would like to, is there anybody online that would like to ask any question? No?
No one, okay.
Okay, anybody else here? So I'm going to give the floor to Basel to end this press conference. I want to say again thanks to all of you, to my team, to the Parliament, and thank you for all also the MEPs and the political parties that will come to the screening of the movie, which I think is very important. And I call on all of you to come to see the movie and to call for peace. And just my last sentence: to be silenced is to be accomplice of what is going on. Thank you. So I'll give the floor to Basel to end this.
And if I can say anything to my colleagues and to the journalists across the world, you like at least something I really wish you could do, really to focus more on our colleagues in Gaza. Today we saw very horrific images of journalists being burned while they are alive and targeted. And for the last year and a half, we're seeing journalists precisely murdered and slaughtered in Gaza. Please speak about them and write about them, raise their voice. We know that Israel preventing any international media to go cover the crimes in Gaza. So they are the only ones who rescue their lives with their own families, with their own community, to document what's going on. And as you can see, like a lot of them are killed, and a lot of those who's like left and like remains and documenting every day are at risk. So please talk about them, write about them, do whatever you can. Thank you for coming today.
For your work, Basel. Thank you very much.